Hey everybody, it's Mike. Back with moments for Mike. Start the show off today. Again, it's a this is a very brand new podcast that I just started, and I'm so excited about it. Thank you for tuning in and listening. So on this podcast, what we're doing is we are bringing issues that a lot of our population and a lot of us deal with, but that maybe we're not too proud to say, or we don't have the gumption to talk about or to bring up, whether it's embarrassing or just not something that's usually talked about or comfortable. And we give opinions on these circumstances and situations and some advice so that we can live better lives, become better people, and think in a more healthy and positive way that ultimately leads to better relationships in life. Um, so bear with me. Like I said, it's completely new, so it's not where it should be yet, but we're gonna get there. So today I want to talk about the role that self-esteem plays in building relationships and building meaningful relationships with people. Again, I always say before I start talking and delving into the issues that when I talk about relationships, I'm not necessarily talking about a man woman relationship. I'm not necessarily talking about a romantic relationship. When we use the term relationship, we're talking about parents, a relationship with a child, a relationship with siblings, relationship with friends, or a relationship with significant others. So we're encompassing all relationships. So I had a question from somebody. Somebody asked me, how do you move past your past and not let it hinder you when trying to build relationships? How do you not take the past with you? Um, this particular individual said that they were very embarrassed about things that had happened to them in the past, and they found that it was um, very hard moving forward to build meaningful relationships because they couldn't let the things that they went through and did or happened to them not necessarily go, but put them on a back burner to where they could build meaningful, productive, and healthy relationships. So to that, I say, um, you can't, and I'm trying to stop saying a lot. I say a whole lot, and it's not very professional. So I'm gonna try to work on that. You got to give me a break. My sister, somebody who was very important to me when I was younger, and I used to talk to her. She used to always say, "You say like too much," because I used to say like every other word, like this or like that. And she said that you have to, when you speak, you have to speak clearly and you have to stop using the word like all the time. It took me years to get it, but I got it. So now I'm trying to stop saying so much. It sounded a little more professional. But so anyway, I get off track a lot. So back to what I was talking about. There we go. You have to use your past and your experiences to your benefit. And what I mean when I say that is a lot of times people try to bury what happened to them and what they've been through because they feel like it's so embarrassing and they can't move forward, and it's like always in their mind, so they think that this is what defines them. So like I have some of the most unfavorable memories that you could probably imagine. I'm not saying that I've been through more than anybody else or less than anybody else. What I'm saying is instead of being embarrassed about things that happened to you or things that went down in your past, not saying that embrace them or wear them like a badge of honor, but learn from it. Learn to accept that and move forward from it. I'm not saying move on like it didn't happen to you, but move forward. An issue I used to have is when I met people, especially new people, I felt like I could never tell them my past. I could never bring up anything that had happened to me because they might pity me or they might think of me less or think I'm some type of weirdo or think, wow, this guy's a freak. Like, I can't, and not a freak in the sense that you're thinking, a freak, like a weirdo. So you got to move forward from the past, not on, but forward. So I want to share with you one of the things that I mean. So, like I said before, when I was younger, I went through a very, very tumultuous time when I was supposed to be, how do I say, like, going through the best years of my life. I was adopted, as you know. Well, you probably don't know because I didn't go into the story in detail. I kind of said it in the intro, but I never really delved into the actual facts for it. So let's get into the nitty gritty. And again, in this podcast, you're really going to be able to learn me and what I went through and what makes me who I am today and why I give the advice I give and where it comes from. So, not really the most glamorous or greatest story in the world. I was a child, a crack baby, basically. Like, let's just be real with it. My mother was addicted to crack. So I was born, how do I say it? I mean, I wasn't born addicted to crack cocaine, but I was pretty much in all intents and purposes a crack baby. Um, so I was always ashamed to say that. I'm an 80s baby. So not saying anything because the 80s babies are the greatest babies ever. But, you know how the 80s generation was. So I was always reluctant to tell people my beginnings, my origins, like what happened to me because of that simple fact. It made me so embarrassed and so it just made me feel like I wasn't shit. Like I would never be able to live up to an honorable potential because of that. Um, so my point that I'm trying to make is that you can't really, even though the past defines you to an extent, you can't really let it define the person you are. I became a very, very reclusive person because of the things I went through in my history. And it stopped me from building meaningful relationships. And it stopped me from being able to bond with people because I had this big fear of what people would think of me and how they would judge me because of my history. So I wasn't able to build those fruitful relationships, and I wasn't able to um, move past from my past. So anyway, I'm getting off topic. So anyway, this person asked me, how do you not let your past define you? How do you not let your past control you? How do you move on from that? And my answer to that would be, respectfully, you don't move on from it. You learn from it and grow and you move forward. Um, so I'm going to share a story with you. And it's just to show how you take a past situation and you apply it to the present, not you moved on, you're moving forward from it, but you're not letting it define you. There was a situation where I was in a home, and this was supposed to be my forever home, a home that I was adopted into, that I was supposed to be a part of the family. And I was starved. I wasn't fed on the regular. We didn't eat regularly. There was days when we would go without eating at all. Um, there was another child that was adopted and in this situation, and he and I would literally eat paper because that's how hungry we were. We weren't really allowed to interact with everybody else, and we weren't allowed to, our own siblings, we weren't allowed to bond with. So really all we had was each other. Well, one night in I believe it was 1999, we were so hungry that we decided we were going to sneak out of the window and we were going to go to the garbage can and bring in a bag of trash. And we were going to eat whatever we could find out of this bag of trash. Looking back at it now, like, it's horrible to say. Like, it's horrible to reflect on. But we decided that we were going to do that because we were starving, and the need to survive is a very, very strong instinct. So what we did, me and my brothers, we made a plan. We decided that when we didn't hear any more movement upstairs and we didn't hear anybody awake, that we would sneak out of the window and we would go around the corner to where we knew the garbage can was. And we would take this bag of trash and we bring it in the house, and we would take whatever we could out of it. We would salvage whatever we could out of it, and we would eat it. And this is something, honestly, that nobody knows because we never got caught doing it. So nobody knows that we did this. This is the first time, probably, that anybody besides me and this other individual knows this. So one night, we decided that we were going to put our plan in action. We opened the window. It's probably about 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning. We opened the window. I was the point man. He was going to stay in the room and listen because at this time we were in the basement. And there was a staircase leading down. So if somebody opened that front door, you would know. Like, you would hear it. I was going to go grab that bag of trash, and I was going to bring it back. And the plan was he'd be waiting at the window and tell me if it was okay to bring it in. And I would throw it in and come in. And if anything had happened, he would shut the window, turn the light off, and get in the bed. So when I came back with this bag of trash, I would know that if the light was off and the window wasn't open, it was not safe to go in, to be quiet and lay low. So I jumped out of that window. Mind you, we were in the basement, so it wasn't a long fall or anything. And I went to the dumpster and I grabbed a bag of trash. I brought it back. We brought it in and we went through it. I'm not proud to say it, but we were so excited to find food in the garbage because we knew we would be full. So this one particular day, let me rewind a little bit. So this one particular day in July, everybody else was upstairs enjoying the 4th of July. We were downstairs in the basement. Like I said, we weren't really allowed to react or interact. I'm sorry, interact with the family. So we were in the basement while everybody upstairs was enjoying the 4th of July. And our uncle came over. He didn't come over a lot, but on this occasion, he came over and he was cooking. And we could smell the barbecue. So we knew he was barbecuing. And my adopted brother and I got so excited because we knew that there would be a feast in the garbage for us to eat. So we literally waited all day anticipating and preparing for that night. So the night comes and he's listening up the staircase to make sure everybody's asleep. We don't hear any sounds. And we listened for about an hour to make sure everything was silent. We go outside and I go to the garbage can and there was no garbage in there. There's no garbage. So I came back and he was really upset. And I was upset too because we were really hungry. But lucky for us, there was apple trees in the backyard and there was grapevines that lined the driveway. We had a winding driveway that went down and around to the bottom of the house. So we grabbed some apples and we grabbed a bunch of grapes. So we ate that night. It wasn't what we wanted, but it worked. And it was something that filled us up. And it was like that for a couple of nights. So anyway, one night, a couple of days later, I found the garbage bag. On one of our runs at night. And I was so excited. We were so happy because we were finally going to get some meat or something that was going to eat good. And we brought that garbage bag in the house. We picked through it. We found like a spoiled carrot cake. And I didn't like carrot cake, but when you're hungry, you'll do strange things. So we found a carrot cake and we found the barbecue. And this is really embarrassing to tell, but our hearts kind of dropped because when we pulled that chicken out of the garbage, it was covered in maggots. So we weren't getting what we thought we were going to get. And as embarrassing as it is, we kept it anyway. We kept it and we put it in a bowl or something in the house. And I hurried up and took the garbage bag back to the garbage can. And I came back. And my little brother was like, well, what are we going to do? Like, we can't eat bugs. Like, are we really that desperate enough to eat maggots? And the sad truth of the situation is we were. This is no lie. This is no joke. I'm not adding anything to it. I'm telling you this for a reason. So in our basement, in the house that we lived in, there was a bathroom. And that bathroom had hot water. So we rinsed the maggots off of the chicken and we ate it. It was hard to do, but we ate it. We were that desperate. Rinsed it off and we ate it. We were full. We were able to sleep. The reason I tell that story is because I want you to understand that I understand embarrassment and crazy situations like nobody else. I understand what it's like to make decisions for your survival that would completely destroy your dignity. But at the same time, I also understand what it's like to be resilient. I understand what it's like to to be able to make those tough decisions and to do what you got to do until you can get to a point that you're okay. Um, so anyway, you're probably wondering, like, so what does that have to do with the question you were asked? And again, the question I was asked was, how do you let go of the past and not hang on to things that you experienced or went through to hinder you moving forward? So, like in that situation, I became somebody that, and I had an ex that was like, she didn't understand it. She's like, you spoil my child. Like, you let them eat whatever they want, and do whatever they want when it comes to food. So, because of situations like that, I became a person to where if somebody told me they were hungry, especially a minor or child, I'd let them eat. Didn't care what time of day it was, didn't care what it was, didn't care what the situation was. If you're hungry, go get something to eat. Food is not a privilege. Food was a privilege when I was younger, and a very effective privilege. But anyway, um, so we did that an entire summer and fall and got away with it. Never got caught. So let me tell you how we got caught. Because all things that are good must come to an end. Even though that wasn't a very good thing, it had to come to an end. And it did. It came to a horrible end. So, like I said, at this time, I was probably 12, 13. Um, and I was the ringleader. I was the mastermind. I did all this stuff. But how much can a 12 or 13-year-old be a mastermind? Um, so the winter months set in, and it was very cold outside. But we were going to do what we had to do to survive. Now, let me be fair. Even though we didn't eat on the regular, there were times where we got at least one meal a day. Or sometimes we were lucky enough to get 2 meals a day. But there were days when we went with no meals, especially if we did something or was perceived to do something. Eating was a luxury or was a punishment, depending on the situation. So in the winter, we continued our escapades. And then let me tell you how we got caught. How I got caught. The genius, the mastermind behind this garbage eating plan. So one day we had a pretty big snow. And we were to the point where we hadn't eaten in a couple of days and we were desperate again. So I told my sibling at the time, like, hey, we got to do this. We got to go out there. We got to get that bag and we have to eat. He didn't want to do it. It's too cold. We didn't have any shoes. There was snow on the ground. So I was going to do it. So I went out there and I got the bag and I brought it back and we found whatever scraps we could find out of there. And now hold on, let me tell you something else that we used to do. Because a lot of times we were forced to clean up the house and throw stuff away. So we got to the point to where, like, if we had to clean up, or we were the ones throwing stuff away. We threw away stuff that we knew we could get to later. Like, for one time instance, we were upstairs cleaning the kitchen, and when somebody wasn't looking, if we found a bag of bagels on the counter, we threw that bag of bagels in the garbage because we knew that we would go outside and be able to get that bag of bagels and be able to eat later. So we had a habit of throwing away stuff that we were going to come back and get. So fast forward back to where I was. It was winter. It was cold. But we were hungry. So I go outside. I get the bag. I bring it in. We take what we could take out of it. I'm going back. And then I realized, it hit me right then and there. Like, wait a minute. There's a pattern of footsteps in the snow leading from the window to the garbage can. Like, we are definitely about to get caught. Like, we're going to get caught. Like, what can I do? So being so young and not thinking things through, I thought if I obscured the footprints that that it wouldn't matter, like we wouldn't get caught. So I tried to muddle my footprints, not realizing that it still leads a muddled path back to our window. So we got caught, and it was brutal. It was a very, very, very bad situation that we were put in. Our mother by adoption was not happy that we were doing what we were doing. The sad part is it's not that she realized we were hungry and that we were desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. It was the fact that we weren't following the rules. And we paid very, very heavily for that. So when she found out, she put nails in the window so that we weren't able to open the window. So after getting beat within an inch of our lives, we were stumped, because now we are living in this basement, starving for real. We're not able to go and do what we need to do to survive. We're stuck, essentially. So we thought it was over. It was done. And at that point, we just had to live with what we got. Whenever we got fed, we ate. We started drinking a ton of water to get as full as we could when we could. Like I said, we started eating paper. One thing we always had was books. There was tons and tons and tons of books downstairs, and we would read them. I used to literally get lost in books, like leave this world pretty much, get lost in the world of books. But anyway, so we stayed like that through the summer. When a winter came, the nails were taken out of the window and the windows were opened because it was summertime. I'm sorry, when the summer came. We had the conversation to where she was like, this can't happen again. If it does it again, like, you're gonna really, really regret it. So we didn't do it no more. And then one day, we got super hungry, and we decided that we weren't gonna eat trash anymore. We decided that we wanted food. We did not want bullshit or garbage anymore. Um, and we lived across the street from a school. And we knew that schools have cafeterias. Now, we weren't allowed to go to school. Like, we were 12, 13 years old, but we weren't allowed to go to school. We were like kept in the house, locked in the basement. We weren't allowed to go to school. But we knew that schools had cafeterias, and that if we could just get into school, we could get dinner. So we set it up. We decided we were going to wait again until the wee hours of the morning, and that we were going to go across this street. Like, we literally lived right across the street from the school. So we decided that we were going to go across the street to the school and break into it, and that we were going to find a cafeteria and get some food. It took us about a month to actually put this plan into action because we were not brazen enough. But one day we got hungry enough and we got desperate enough that we did it. Me being me, I didn't want my little brother to run the risk. So I decided that I was going to break into the school and he could come with me. Or if I found any food, I'd bring it back to him so that we could share it and eat it. And he was so worried. He's like, "Well, what if you don't find anything?" I'm like, "Well, teachers always have apples, right? Every teacher has an apple because this is what we read. Or graham crackers. There'll be something in the classrooms if I can't find a cafeteria, but I will." So one night, probably about 3 o'clock in the morning, I decided this is it. This is when we're gonna do it. And we pried that nail out the window. Like, our hands were raw and bleeding, but we got that nail out the window because there was a nail put back in there. So what she did is she lifted the nail. They took the nails out the window so that the windows could open, but they put the nail up high enough to where the window could open some, but it wouldn't open all the way. So we spent a very long time wiggling and prying and loosening that nail and getting it out. And once we figured out how to get it out so that we wouldn't get in trouble, we put it back in and like almost hammer it in with a book so that in the event that anybody checked, it didn't seem like we were getting out. But anyway, so we got the nail out and I went outside and I got receipts for everything I'm talking about. This was, I believe it was called Park Elementary across the street we lived in Jackson, Michigan in 1989 or 2000, one of those years. So I'm sure there's a police report about this somewhere. So you know that I'm not making this up and that this is true story. Like I said, I got receipts for everything I say. So anyway, I go to this school and I don't remember it exactly how it happened, but my heart was like pounding. I was so scared. Like, I didn't know. I was terrified, but I had it all planned out. I was going to go in there. I was going to find a pizza. I was going to find a cereal. I was going to find something, and I was going to get the hell out of there. Yeah. What I didn't plan on is that schools have security systems. So when you break into schools, an alarm goes off, whether it's a silent alarm or a loud alarm, the local PD is notified. And you got to forgive me again, I was a kid. So I break into this school. I think I threw a rock through the window, or maybe the back door was unlocked. It was something. Actually, the door was unlocked. I went to the back of the school and the door was unlocked. Like, it was too perfect. The door was unlocked. So I open this door and I go in the school that I had never been in, and I am trying my hardest to find the cafeteria. So I find the cafeteria and my heart's broke because it's locked up. There's nothing for me to take. I can't get into the freezer. I can't get into the shelves. I can't get into anything. So what did I do? I grabbed a bunch of apples, which was the dumbest shit in the world because there was literally apple trees in our backyard. But I didn't want to leave empty handed. So I grabbed a bunch of apples and there were graham crackers. It was like a basket full of graham crackers. So I grabbed the graham crackers and I turned to go. I don't know where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out how to get back out of the school that I broke into. And the next thing I know, I just see these bright lights flashing everywhere. And I hear the police on a loud horn talking about come out with your hands up. I hear dogs barking. It's like a whole scene now. And my heart just dropped. I just knew I was going to die. There's no coming back from this. This is like, this is it. There isn't any coming back from this. It's my life's over. And what's worse is I've got my little brother caught up. So the police eventually locate me with a big ass German Shepherd. So I get on the ground. They come get me, find out who I am. I told them I live right across the street. And they did the absolute worst thing that they could have done. They took me home. And that experience, let me tell you, was one of the most traumatizing things I have ever been through in life. It's not even the beating that was so detrimental and severe. It was the demeaning, the putting down, the making me feel like I was lower than dirt, lower than scum. That did not get us out the basement. What it did get us was every night from then on, not forever, but for a long time, all of our clothes would be taken. Our ankles would be taped together with duct tape, and our wrists would be tied together behind our back at night in the basement. So they would literally come down there, take our clothes, make us sleep naked with our wrists tied behind our back, and our ankles tied like hog tied. It was the most degrading, horrible thing I had ever been through. I remember laying there with tears in my eyes, like literally crying, thinking that this can't be life. This cannot be it. How did I get involved in this situation? Like how did this become me at 13 years old? What happened to adoption being happy ever after, loving, caring families? Like what happened? And I'd cry my eyes out until I went to sleep. And it was devastating. But it still wasn't the end, because when you're hungry and you're starving you will do whatever you have to do. Anyway, so like I said in this podcast, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you a lot of life experiences that are hard to talk about, that I've never told, that I've held in for years to make my point, to get it across. And the point I'm trying to make with that is I took that with me almost my entire, through all my teenage years and a lot of my adult life. I never one time felt that I was at least human. So when I would get into these relationships or situations, I didn't think that I deserved to be in them. And I didn't know or couldn't figure out how to build a happy life or a productive life with such a dark past. I didn't think there was any good for me. Um, and it took me a very, very, very long time to learn that situations don't always define you. You can grow out of them, you can come out of them stronger and more resilient. To this day, I feel like no matter what the situation is, like I can handle it. There's nothing I can't conquer. I really feel like that. Like I I feel like I've been in worse and I have. Um so when you get to that point to where you're thinking that, well man, like I will never be able to do anything fruitful or develop anything fruitful or meaningful because I'm so screwed up. Like I come from this fucked up situation and there's no rebounding for it. If you knew who I really was or what I've really gone through or been through, you would hate me. You would look at me in disgust. But you have to realize that those situations, no matter what it is, whether it's you stealing food or I don't know, being in an abusive relationship, letting somebody take advantage of you, or I know a lot of people that suffered trauma because they were sexually assaulted as youth, when they couldn't protect themselves and they think that they're not worth it. But you have to realize that those horrible, horrible situations do not define you in the sense of this is what you are. This is all you can ever be. You can never get past this. I won't say they don't define you at all because you can learn from them. And moving forward, you can have a mindset of never forgetting that stuff to determine what you do, but not who you are, if that makes any sense. Um, so that would be my opinion on that. And I know we went a little longer in this one. Usually, these podcasts are 30 minutes. This one's going to go to 45 or an hour because it's a deep conversation and a situation that we need to talk about. If we don't hold ourselves in any type of esteem, if we don't have any type of confidence in ourselves, you can never expect anybody else to have that in you. And it's really true. Like I know that sounds so cliche, but it's not cliche. It's an actual fact. If you don't believe in you, nobody else is going to. You have to be able to project that confidence in you. I have to be able to be like, Mike's the shit. You know, yeah, Mike's been through some shit, but Mike's the shit. Um, because if I'm always second guessing myself or I'm not willing to step out of there, and trust me, it's hard. It's very hard to step out of that. It's very hard to put yourself out there and to put all your vulnerabilities and deep dark secrets on Front Street and to let people know the horrors. That's a very hard thing to do. Um, but until you can decide that I'm better than this, I can move forward from this, I can help somebody by exposing these things or talking about these things to show what I learned and how I grew from them, or to just be like, hey, I've been where you are, or I've been in a more precarious position than you are, goes a long way. So on that point, the last point I want to make, and I think is a very important one, you got to meet people where they are. I don't think anybody can say, "Oh, well, I've been through worse than you. I've um been through more mentally or physically." Well, some people have been physically, but more. You never know what the next person can handle. You never know how strong the next person is. So nobody can ever say that my life was worse or my mental was tested more than yours, because all the stories that I'm going to tell you and the things I've been through, you might have been able to handle, or I might not have been able to handle. I might have break down and completely lost my mind because my cat died. And that's something you were able to handle, but you couldn't handle being starved in the basement. What I'm saying is you can't compare what you've been through what somebody else has been through. We all have our breaking points, and we all deal with trauma and experiences in life in a different way. So you have to meet people where they are. You have to. So in closing, like I was saying, the point I was trying to make, and you gotta excuse me, like I said, I get off topic and subject a lot. But what I was trying to say is you have to take that step. It's an uncomfortable one, and oh my God, this is an embarrassing one. But the way to not let the past define you or situations you've been in hinder you from moving forward and being fruitful in anything is to accept that it happened. Talk about it. Deal with the situation. Work through it. Work forward. And then use that to be a blessing to somebody else. You have to take that gamble. Some people might look at you reprehensive and be like, "That's, oh my gosh, no, like I did, But you might save somebody's life by sharing what you've been through and what you've gone through and how you were able to conquer it and to move on. Your testimony, your story, your thinking, your plan that you put into action to save your mental might be the catalyst to saving somebody's life. So that's my take on that question. And I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts and comments too, as well. If you don't agree with something I said, or I didn't touch on something long enough or well enough, please feel free. Let me know. Let's talk about it. Let's have a discussion about these things. Like I said, I am getting a website together. I'm getting a hotline together. You can call in, text me, ask your questions, and we will discuss it and go forward on our next show. So we're going to get there. Thank you guys so much for listening and being a part of this. Again, I really wanted to you're going to get to learn me. You're going to get to know me. You're going to get to know where I'm coming from with the advice I give, with the situations that I bring to you. You're going to get to know, and you're going to understand that there's always a way. There's always a way. There's never a such thing as you can't make something happen. You can always make something happen as long as you continue to fight. Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for listening today. We are going to have a wonderful time with this podcast. Like I said, I'm so excited about it. Got to get it together. Thank you again so much. Moments with Mike. I'm Mike. Have a wonderful day, everybody.